Hello, welcome back to Algebra 1. Here we're going to tackle the concept of polynomial long division. Now, long division in algebra gives a lot of students problems. So what we're going to do is eliminate any frustration that you have by taking this entire lesson. We're just going to really work one real problem. But we're going to talk about it so much that you're probably going to be bored at the end. But the point of it is I want you to really understand what we're doing just with this one problem. And then we have like 4 or 5 more lessons after this where we're going to crank through a ton of different examples. So if you don't 100% get it at the end of this lesson, just watch this lesson a few times and then continue on into the following examples. And we will pick it up through practice. But for now, I want you to really concentrate on this as many times as you need in order to get the concept down. All right. So what we're going to do before we do anything with algebra is we're going to review regular long division because the algebra long division really follows very similarly. So what if you had the problem 155 divided by 2? Remember, this is what we call long division, right? So let's go ahead and work through this problem, and we're going to draw some conclusions, and then we're going to do another problem after this that's going to involve algebra, and you'll see how it follows the exact same process. So what you do here is you first attempt to see if 2 will go into the first digit, 1, and 2 will not divide into 1. So then you expand your search and say, will 2 go into 15? How many times will 2 go into 15? The answer is 7 times because 2 times 7 is 14. So what you do is you put a 7 and you put it over the 5 because what you're doing is you're saying that it goes 7 times into the 15. Then the next step is you take 7 times 2, which is 14, and write that down directly underneath what you were just working with, and you subtract them. All right, now 15 minus 14 is 1, so you just put a 1 here. And then after you've done the subtraction, you look for the next digit if there is one. In this case, there's a 5, and you drag him down. So I always draw a little arrow to remind myself that I'm dragging the 5 down from up above, and so now I have another 15 down below. Then I see, does 2 divide evenly into 15? Of course it does. We just did that a minute ago. 2 times 7 is 14. So we write the number 7 up above in the next digit space here, because 2 times 7 is 14. Then we do the multiplication. This 7 times 2 is what we just said, 14, so we write it down, and then we subtract them, and then the answer is 1. 15 minus 14 is 1. So there we go. Now, if there were another digit here, like if this were 1,557, then we would drag another digit down and continue the process. But since there are no digits here to pull down, and since 2 cannot go into 1, then we're basically finished. There are no additional digits to pull, and there's no additional division to do. So the answer is 77. That's how many times 2 will go into 155. 77 whole times. But we have this remainder down here. We have 1 left over, effectively. So the way that we write this answer typically down, there's a couple of different ways to write it, but when you first start learning division, the way that you write it is the answer to this problem is 77 with a remainder of 1. And what this tells you is it goes 77 whole times. That's how many times it divides in, but there's a leftover 1. In other words, there's a kind of a fractional part left over that you can't divide another time, so it's just kind of left hanging out there. When you first learn division, you write the answers like this, 77 with a remainder of 1. But then, as you move along, you can write the answers in a different way. So what you do is you say it goes 77 whole times, but this remainder of 1, it's just how many pieces are left over that I can't divide evenly into. But instead of just leaving it there and saying there's 1 left over, we can write it as a fraction. And the way you write it as a fraction is 1, and you divide it by what you're dividing by. So in this case, it's